Let's discuss Project 1, Correspondence. In this unit, your goal is going to be to write two different letters, one as a consumer and then one as the company responding to a consumer complaint. You will find, as always, your learning objectives first, what you need to read to help you out with this section, resources, work samples, and the assignment expectations. I would like to call your attention particularly to some of the resources. The business letter basics and the phone number and addresses. These are some pieces of information that everyone thinks they know how to do until they do it wrong. Please don't do it wrong and lose points on your assignment. When you're looking at your business letter basics, you need to keep in mind that line spacing is a very important thing. If you're using Microsoft Word, it defaults to adding extra space every time you hit the Enter key, which leaves things spaced unevenly and is not the correct way to do it for this unit. There are instructions in the resources unit on how to get rid of those extra spaces between your lines, but please make sure you pay attention to your line spacing. You also need to pay attention to pagination. What I mean by that is don't just have your signature line on the second page. If you must go to a second page on a letter, then make sure you have at least a paragraph worth of information there, and what's better is to have a half a page of information. If you don't have that much to go on to the next page, then shrink your font size by 1 point or shrink your margins by 1/10 of 1 inch. Do something to make it all fit on the first page rather than going to a second page for a teeny tiny little bit of nothingness. Finally, your punctuation. One of the things that I commonly see people do incorrectly on this assignment is to put 2 periods in CEO or USA. If it is something that is an accepted abbreviation or initialism that everyone knows, like NASA, you don't need periods in there. You don't need periods in CEO or USA. However, if you put periods behind the C or the E, you have to put one behind the O. If you put it behind the U or the S, you have to put it behind the A, because that means you're making an abbreviation and that the C stands for something and the E stands for something, and we know that the O also stands for something, so you must have a period there if you use the periods. This is a common issue, so don't make that mistake. As to the pieces and parts that you need to have in a business letter, you have to have a sender's address. This is you up at the top, and it's only your street address and your city, state, and zip code. Your name does not go up here, nor does your phone number or your email address. Then you're going to skip one line, and you're going to give me the date, all spelled out in long form. Don't put just the numbers. Then you're going to skip one line, and you're going to give me the name of the person you're writing your letter to, and the next line, the name of their company, and after that, the street address of the company, and after that, the city, state, and zip code. Then again, you will skip one line. You'll give me a proper greeting, which is Dear Mr. or Miss and their last name. Do not include someone's first name in a greeting in a letter. It is inappropriate, and we do not do it. End your line with your greeting with a colon, not a comma. This is a business communication. You are unfamiliar with this person, so you end it with a colon. Then you'll skip one line and you'll have the body of your letter. If you have more than one paragraph, make sure that you leave one blank line in between each paragraph in the body of your letter. After that, you'll skip one line. You'll write your closing, followed by a comma. This can be sincerely, this can be kind regards. It cannot be thank you. Thank you is a sentence. It is not a closing, so make sure you don't use thank you there. After your closing, you leave 3 blank lines, and then you type your name. If you have the ability to put in a signature, you're welcome to do so, an actual physical signature, but you don't have to. So when you get done, your letter should look something like this that we see here on the right-hand side of the screen. Similarly, with phone numbers, most people think that they know how to write a phone number until they write it incorrectly. I've seen lately several people who will write it with parentheses around the area code and a hyphen between the area code and the exchange. That is not appropriate. You can put parentheses around the area code and a space. You can put hyphens in all places with no parentheses, or you can put periods in all places with no parentheses. Any of these are correct, but this one with both is incorrect, so don't make that mistake. When you're writing an address, make sure that you keep all of the appropriate things on the same line together. This comes into play more when we're doing resumes than when we're doing letters because you have the whole line when you're writing a letter. However, when we get to resumes, sometimes folks like to do designs that have a finite amount of space on the left, like a column where they're putting things. If that is the case, you want to make sure that you space things out correctly. You never want to put the zip code away from the city and state. City, state, and zip should always stay together. You don't want to break up the street address over 2 lines. Keep your whole street address on 1 line together. So just make sure that you refer to this information when it's time to write a letter so that you get everything done correctly. Coming back to the project now, let's look at those assignment expectations. For this assignment, you are going to review Chapter 6, if you have the book, and it helps you with writing letters to other people. We are looking for you to write a letter of complaint about a product that you've received, and it should be properly formatted with proper grammar, spelling, and punctuation. And you're going to complain to the manufacturer about something that you have purchased or something you've used. Try not to do a service here because you can't really recall a service. Think more concrete items, that stand mixer that you just purchased, the ceiling fan you just put up in your bedroom. Find some complaint about it. And then you're going to turn around and take the opposite side. You're going to pretend you're the company that made that thing and you've received many complaints, and now you want to do a nationwide product recall on it. Please do not make your second letter addressed to the person that wrote the first one, whether it's you or a fictional person. Your second letter should be addressed to the nation as a whole, to any person who has possibly purchased this item. So make sure you don't make that mistake. Make sure that you also put both of your documents into one file and submit one single file, and remember that it needs to be a PDF. As you're going through this, your document must include certain things. For example, your complaint letter must have all of the standard parts of a business letter, as we just went over. You have to have a statement of whatever the problem is, backed up by any specific facts or examples that you can give. List any attempts that you've already made to fix it, to make it better, and what it is that you would like to see happen in order to make you satisfied and make you a happy customer again. Make sure that you're reasonable in this. Obviously, if you have a $25 product that's broken, you can't expect $1 million payout. And give a reasonable time frame for a response. Remember that if you are mailing a letter like this, it will go to the corporation, it will go into their mailroom, it will get sorted into a pile with anything similar. That will go to a certain person who is tasked with opening that mail. That person will decide then where it needs to go next, and often this process can take several weeks. Expecting someone to send you a check for $150 within the next 2 weeks is unreasonable in most cases when you are dealing with snail mail. Make sure that you're not threatening people. Don't imply that you're going to badmouth them or go to the press or that you're going to sue them. Give them a chance to make it right, because most companies will. Make sure that your pagination is correct. No margins smaller than 1/2 inch. No fonts larger than 12 in your complaint letter. On the product recall, you again are the company that made the product that's being complained about. Do not address this letter directly to the person who made the complaint. Make sure this is nationwide. For the purposes of the product recall, I want you to make it look as official as you can. So for that purpose, if you would like to use the logo of the company, you're welcome to grab one from the internet and use it for this assignment, because we will not be posting this anywhere else. It is not plagiarism when you're turning it in class. And just make sure that you don't squish that logo or smush it or stretch it. Make sure you're using a high resolution copy so it doesn't look pixelated. And you do not have to give attribution for the purposes of this letter, because remember, you are acting now as if you are that company, and that company does not put on there that so-and-so made this logo for us. Make sure when you write your letter, the actual meat of your letter includes an apology. It's going to include what your company is going to do about this to fix the situation, and it's going to include instructions for how people can get their money back, return their product, get a replacement product, or whatever it is that you deem is the appropriate response. It should also try to include who to contact if they have any other questions, and what your company is going to do to make sure this sort of thing doesn't happen for them in the future. Things that you would do to try to calm customers and keep them as customers in the future. Now, a final note on this assignment: if you would like to be silly and goofy and funny, please do so. I love reading the creative and funny happenings that people have come up with for some of their product complaints, and you'll see some of those in the sample work. Feel free to have some fun with it. Just make sure that the actual written work that you turn in looks very professional on the page. As always, if you have any questions, please don't hesitate to let me know, and I look forward to seeing what you can do.